Hi everyone, I'm Sarah of Childhood Finds, and thank you so much for joining me here for another video. We're going to be doing, I imagine will be a shorter video, but if you know me, it may not be. But this is just going to be kind of on a specific thing. I'm going to go over what my top 10 categories have been through the last 3 years. So I think it'll be interesting to share, how things have changed, how I've grown as a reseller, because do keep in mind that the first year and a half of these will be a year and a half plus a little extra will be from part-time reselling. And then the last year and a half are going to be full-time reselling. So you'll see a mixture in the 2022 category. But you can just kind of see how things have progressed, how I have changed as a reseller. And I think it'll just be interesting. I'm also going to show you how to get to it in your Seller Hub so that if you want to also find out for yourself what your categories have been, if you're a reseller, then you can check that out and kind of compare it. That's why I'm doing it. I'm going to keep this up over the coming years just to see how things have changed. And I'll probably talk a little bit about, just a tiny bit about why I'm an everything seller and a little bit about what categories I would like to grow this year moving forward. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to get to the point where you're going to be able to see your categories, go into your eBay Seller Hub. If you don't know how to do so, if you're a person that mostly does it on your phone, you're going to just go to My eBay and Selling. And then once you click that, that'll take you into your Seller Hub after you may have to sign in. And how I get to my categories is I just go down to my sales, hit my sales, and then down here you can make custom ranges. So let's just look at, say, the last year. And you'll generate the report. And you're gonna scroll down. And here you can see your top categories. So it just says sales by categories, and that gives you a breakdown of how much money and what the percentage of your sales are in that category. And if you want to look further back than last year, all you have to do is go down here to custom, and then you can click this 100 times and go to, say, January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022. And then you'll generate that report. And this is my year that I was part-time. And so now you'll see here more categories. So you're going to see my numbers are going to be quite different for the first 2 years because most of those years were part-time and just 2023 was full-time. And I continue to grow my business. That's the goal, is just keep doing better. And I'm just saying that because you can see my numbers, guys. I don't mind that you can see my numbers, but I'm going to keep growing and keep working towards it. Now let's look at what my categories have been for the last 3 years and how they've changed. And I'll talk about what the differences were for each of those years. So I am off kilter so that I can kind of maybe put some stuff up here on the side. And so let's start with 2021. This was a full year of part-time reselling, so not as impressive as other years. And so first one is going to be video games and accessories. So what I did with some of my categories is I combined like ones. So there's categories like books, and then there's another category that's like antiquarian and collectible books. I just put those together. Books, they're books. So I did that on occasion with some of these. So first one for 2021, number one, video games and accessories. And that came out to 13.6%. I will put up here also kind of how the dollar value of it. And again, part-time, guys, so the numbers aren't going to be super impressive. And then my second was trading cards at 5.9%, action figures at 5.7%, art prints at 4.8%, CDs at 4.5%. I have to keep looking down because I have this on my computer. Books at 3.6%, DVD players at 2.4%, music boxes at 2.1%, DVDs and Blu-rays at 1.8%, animation and collectibles at 1.7%. And that totaled up to 46.1% of all of my sales. And that's my top 10 categories. So I have found that interesting. You will actually see that at a little more than 50 or less than 50% of my items sell in my top 10 categories. The rest of it is all the extras and all the other categories. And that's why I am an everything seller, because it just makes sense for me. So I'm going to give you a small anecdote of why I do it. I also will link down, I do have a video about being an everything seller and the pros and cons that I did quite a while ago. I'll link that down in the description if you haven't watched it and you would be interested, so that you can check that out. But a little anecdote of why I do it. We went to an estate sale this morning. It's winter here in Nevada, in northern Nevada, and it's cold. So really there's not many sales, but there was one estate sale near us that was family run, and everybody coming up, it really wasn't that packed, but everybody I recognized as a reseller. I see them at other sales, I know them. And as we were going up, two actually came out and whispered to all of us that they'd been in there and they couldn't find anything, and that there wasn't that much. So of course, all of us are dejected. And then me and my mother-in-law go in and we do our usual like split off. You know, I went high, she went low, and we actually found a decent amount. It wasn't a home run. It wasn't I'm rich now, but we probably got 10 or 11 really just nice saleable items that are over $20, some going as high as, 80 to one being probably worth around 150 to two that my mother-in-law found. And it was great. It was an assortment. We found a cast iron stove. We found a piece of Fenton glassware. She found a Thule decoy duck. I'll post up a picture here because I didn't know what it was. I was pretty sure she was buying that came from Hobby Lobby, which is why it's great to have another person that knows stuff. And so she found that. We found some old vintage clothing. And so it was just an assortment of goods, which was awesome. And then we looked at the other resellers, and they each only had maybe one or two items, if that. And they all looked kind of disappointed. And it felt good to be able to find multiple items to keep my business going, because sourcing stresses me out. I'm always terrified I'm not going to have enough to keep my business going that I love and cherish. So sourcing is very stressful for me. I know some people love it, but it's very stressful for me. It can be very fun and I enjoy it, but it's anxiety ridden for me at times. And so we were able to come out with multiple items that are saleable. So I am grateful to be an everything seller, because I am able to look at so many different things. And also it's just fun to learn about all the different things there are. I could probably never niche down. If I did, it'd probably be books. But even then, I don't think I could do it. So there's a little anecdote and the top categories of 2021. And I hope this video will be just beneficial for you to maybe look at to your business and see if maybe you want to be a niche seller. Check out your categories, be able to find out if you want to, change things up or, set different goals for yourself. I just hope that it brings some value to you. And this is going to be 2022 top categories. Books. Books started this year. I did a little tiny bit in 2021, but 2022 they began to happen, and I am so grateful for that. So books came in at 15.6%, and then I had vinyl records in at 8%. I'm very sad that that's not continuing. Vinyls are getting harder and harder for me to find, but I love them. Art sculptures, I sold some bronzes and things that year. That was 6.55%. They were high value. That definitely skewed the numbers. We have video games at 4.7. As you can see, video games are careening into the ground. Dolls and bears, 3.9%. Art prints, 3.8%. Frames, 3%. Board games, 2.2%. Action figures at 2.1%. And animation collectibles at 1.6%. That totaled up to about 51% of all of my sales. And the rest of the 49% was everything else. So what made my shift here? I was mostly selling personal things the first year. And that included a lot of Pokemon cards, video game things, action figures, toys, etc. So that's really what skewed that first year. My parents were moving also, and they had, you know, a lot of CDs. My mom gave me all her CD collection, so that really took off for my first year of CDs. And I actually did enjoy selling them. I should look more. She had a bunch of DVDs. I sold a bunch of those, movie seasons, etc. So that's really what did my 2021, was I got a lot of just free stuff from parents moving, my personal collections, etc. And then 2022 is when I really started to source. At the tail end of the year, I started to become a full-time reseller. And then now let's look at 2023, last year, where I was a full-time reseller the whole year. So numbers are a bit different, and you can tell I'm becoming more and more of an everything seller in this. So books / antique books, there's two different categories. I just shoved them together. They counted for 17.8% of my sales. Stuffed animals, plush, etc., 7.3%, which is pretty significant amount. Board games and puzzles I put together, and that came in at 3.6. Action figures at 3.4. Vinyl records at 3. I am very sad these went down. I would absolutely love to do more of them if I had the sourcing opportunity to do so. Frames at 2.9. Rifle parts at 2.43%. I should have rounded that up to just 2.4, or rounded down to 2.4. Brooches and pins, jewelry at 1.9. Furbies at 1.7. Yes, guys, Furbies had their whole they were number 9 in my top 10. I love me some Furbies. And then ornaments at 1%. That totaled up to about 45% of my sales. So you can see that my top 10 are bringing in a smaller percentage as I continue to become an everything seller. So just as an overview, I have really continued to push into books. Stuffed animals I continue to do because it's something I can find. Board games and puzzles are also things I find. They don't typically sell for a ton, but they sell. They're slower, but, you know, they sell. Rifle parts, you know, my husband's profession definitely helps with that. And, you know, that has been good money for that, and I will continue that. So what I'm kind of looking forward to 2024, I want to continue to diversify, but there are some categories I would love to increase. I want to continue to increase my clothing, even though I don't love it. I want to continue to increase my clothing. I want to continue to increase flatware because I find flatware delightful, that it's so valuable at times. Continue jewelry. And I haven't quite decided what other categories I would like to branch out into, but I'm really trying to put my feelers into everything. Just know a little bit about everything. So there are kind of my top categories. If you want to share down in the comments, share with me what your number 1 category was last year, or even the last 3 years if you're able to look, if you've been selling that long and you want to share those just to see how they've changed. I hope this is somewhat valuable just to, you know, see how things progress over the years. I'm going to continue to do this through the years and just watch how things grow. So thank you so much for joining me for actually a little bit shorter of a video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.